If you ride a motorcycle in Florida and get hit by a car, there is a very good chance the insurance company is going to blame you, even if you did nothing wrong, even if the car crossed into your lane. I'm Doug Burnetti with Burnetti PA in Tampa, Florida. I have handled serious injury cases in Florida for over 35 years. Motorcyclists get hurt in crashes caused by inattentive car drivers, then spend months fighting an insurance company working to shift all the blame onto the rider. In this video, I'm telling you exactly why that happens, what the insurance company's strategy looks like, and what to do at the scene to protect yourself. Why insurance companies default to blaming motorcycle riders. The bias against motorcycle riders in insurance claims is not accidental. It is strategic, and it works because it sounds plausible. The narrative is consistent across carriers and adjusters. The rider was going too fast. The rider was lane splitting. The rider was not visible. The rider did something that contributed to the car crash, even if the car driver made the initial error. That narrative is easier to sell because motorcycles are smaller, faster, and less visible than cars, and because many jurors and adjusters carry pre-existing assumptions about riders taking risks. Florida operates under a modified comparative fault system under Florida Statute 768.81. Fault is assigned as a percentage to every contributing party. If you are found more than 50% at fault, you may be barred from recovering damages at all. The insurance company's goal is to push that percentage onto the rider. Every percentage point of fault assigned to you reduces their exposure. And crossing the 50% threshold can eliminate your claim entirely. They start this process at the scene. The adjuster who calls you within hours of the crash is not checking on your well-being. They are gathering information to build their case. Every word you say is being used to construct a version of events that reduces their payment obligation. What the insurance company does after a motorcycle crash. The typical insurance company response to a motorcycle accident claim follows a predictable pattern. Within hours or days of the crash, an adjuster contacts you. They are friendly, they express sympathy, they ask for a recorded statement about what happened. Do not give it. A recorded statement taken before you fully understand your injuries, before you have reviewed the police report, and before you have legal representation is being given when you are at your most vulnerable and you're least informed. It is the worst possible time to lock into versions of an event. At the same time, they are ordering the police report. They're reviewing the available scene photos and looking at the vehicle positions documented in the report. They're assessing your speed based on the damage pattern. They're looking at your lane position. They are looking for anything in the documentation that could support an argument that you were riding aggressively or inattentively. They may also order an early medical records request. If you have any prior injuries to the areas affected in the crash, they will argue your current symptoms are pre-existing rather than crash-related. This is especially common in head, neck, and spine injuries, which are the most frequent serious injury types in motorcycle accident cases. Florida motorcycle laws and how they are used against you. Understanding what Florida law actually requires of a motorcycle rider helps you recognize when an insurance company is twisting the legal requirement to build a bias narrative against you. Florida Statute 316.209 governs lane usage for motorcycles. Lane splitting, defined as a motorcycle riding between lanes of traffic, is not legal in Florida. Lane filtering, moving through stopped traffic, was not broadly permitted at the time of this recording. If you were anywhere near a lane division point at the time of the crash, the insurance company will raise this argument regardless of whether it actually applies in your situation. Florida Statute 316.211 governs motorcycle helmet requirements. Riders over 21 with at least $10,000 in medical insurance are not required to wear a helmet in Florida. But if you are not wearing a helmet and you sustain a head injury, the insurance company will argue that your failure to wear a helmet contributed to your damages, even in a crash where the car driver was entirely at fault. This is a contributory factor argument on damages, not on liability, but it affects the calculation. Florida's no-fault insurance system applies differently to motorcycles. Motorcycles are specifically excluded from Florida's mandatory PIP insurance requirement. That means as a motorcycle rider, you do not have your own PIP coverage to fall back on for immediate medical bills the way a car driver does. Your coverage options depend on what you carry on your motorcycle policy, and the at-fault driver's bodily injury liability coverage becomes far more important in a motorcycle crash than in a standard car crash. What to do at the scene of a motorcycle crash? The actions you take at the scene directly affect what evidence exists for your case. I will tell you exactly what matters. Call 911 immediately. You want a law enforcement response and you want an official crash investigation. In serious motorcycle crashes, responding officers are required to complete a Florida traffic crash report, and that report becomes foundational. Even though it may not be evidence, it's still foundational because it's documenting what happened at that time. Tell the responding officer exactly what happened from your perspective. Be factual and specific. Where were you in the lane? What direction were you traveling? What did you observe before the crash? And what did the other vehicle do? Photograph everything you physically can from your position. The final positions of both vehicles, the road surface, skid marks, or tire marks from both vehicles, the damage to the car, and the damage to your motorcycle, the intersection or roadway, any traffic control devices, your position in the lane relative to the lane markings. These photographs are time-stamped and they create a visual record that contradicts the insurance company's narrative if their narrative is false. Get the other driver's information, name, license, registration, insurance card. Note their demeanor and any statements they make. Admissions at the scene, I didn't see you, I didn't check any mirror, carry evidentiary weight. Write them down verbatim as you can, because if those can be used against the car driver later. If anyone witnessed the crash, get their name and contact information before you do anything else. Witnesses who are present immediately after a crash and who saw the sequence of events are enormously valuable in motorcycle cases, specifically because of the he said, she said dynamic those cases generate. Do not apologize. Do not speculate about fault. Do not say you are okay if you are in pain. Adrenaline masks injury severity after a motorcycle crash, and serious injuries, including traumatic brain injuries and internal injuries, may not present clearly at the scene. Tell the responding officers if you feel any pain, dizziness, or disorientation. Accept the medical attention, the medical treatment and documentation. Go to the hospital or urgent care the same day. The timeline of your medical treatment is one of the primary tools insurance companies use to dispute injury claims in motorcycle cases. A gap between the crash and the first medical visit is ammunition for the adjuster to argue your injury is not related to the crash. Get evaluated thoroughly. Tell the treating physician the full sequence of what happened, the crash, your impact point, your position on the motorcycle, any symptoms you're experiencing. Request imaging if there's any head, neck, or spine pain. Do not minimize symptoms to the medical provider. And always follow your treatment plan. Gaps in treatment create the same problems as gaps before treatment. An insurance company will argue that if you were seriously injured, you would have continued seeing a doctor. Document every appointment, every medication, every day you missed work or could not perform normal activities. Those records become your economic and non-economic damage documentation. In other words, you use those documents to show how much you should get. Building your case against the blame narrative. The strongest defense against the insurance company's blame narrative is a complete, well-documented, factual record assembled early. Your attorney can request the other driver's cell phone records to check for distracted driving at the time of the crash. A driver who was on a call or using an app when they hit you is a different liability picture than a driver who is simply inattentive. Cell records require a legal request. That happens faster when an attorney is involved on day one. Your attorney can request any traffic camera or intersection surveillance footage that may have been captured. Those systems overwrite frequently. A preservation letter sent within the first day or two can hold that footage most of the time. Waiting a week often means the footage is gone. Crash reconstruction specialists can analyze skid marks, vehicle damage patterns, and final positions to establish the speed and lane position of both vehicles at the time of impact. In a motorcycle case where the insurance company is arguing that the rider was speeding, an independent reconstruction expert that contradicts that argument is powerful evidence. Your own dash cam or action camera footage, if you were running one, is potentially your single best piece of evidence. More riders are installing cameras now specifically because of cases like these. If you do not currently run a camera, consider it. The cost is negligible compared to the value in a serious crash. The bottom line for Florida motorcycle riders: insurance companies assume they have the upper hand in motorcycle injury cases because riders often do not know their rights. They accept the blame narrative at face value, or they try to handle the claim themselves without understanding what they are up against. You do not have to accept that. Florida's comparative fault system means your case is not over because an adjuster blamed you. What matters is the actual evidence of what happened, assembled carefully and presented by someone who knows how to fight this kind of case. If you were hit by a car while riding and the insurance company is pointing the finger at you, do not accept that conclusion without a legal evaluation. The evidence may tell a very different story. Have you dealt with insurance bias after a motorcycle accident? Tell me what happened in the comments. Other riders need to hear real stories, not just legal theory. If you want to understand how Florida's comparative fault rules apply to your specific crash situation, we have a video on this channel that breaks down exactly how fault percentages are calculated and what they mean for your claim. Check the description. I'm Doug Burnetti with Burnetti PA. Thanks for watching. Drop your story in the comments and I will see you in the next one.